Good evening to all of my fellow troglodytes, all you Neanderthals and hairy knuckle apes, chicken littles, boys crying wolf, to everybody else in the red pill manosphere, and to all the good faithful family. Welcome to the Good Faith Podcast, where we maneuver around toxic debauchery, attempting to find harmony with our fellow man and to dissect society's caustic degeneracy. If it's a pre-apocalyptic dystopia that you seek, then look no further, because here it is. I'm your host, Ninja Bullock. We understand you could have been a million other places, and that time's the most precious commodity that any of us have. So from the bottom of our hearts, we'd like to share our gratitude with you all. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Due to the sensitive nature of some of our topics, we hope you will shield youngins from some of the vulgarity that may be spewed here. It must be noted that the views expressed by the Good Faith Podcast are not necessarily the views of... Wait, hold up a sec. I'm good. Is that better? Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. The views expressed by the panel are not necessarily the views of the Good Faith Podcast, and we're not liable for any results incurred by the utilization of our advice, nor are we a fiduciary and assume no culpability of investment performance as a result of following our financial advice. Our simple aim is to entertain and inform you. Anybody living in the greater Philadelphia area interested in making an appearance on our show can reach me in a DM on Facebook or Instagram at Christopher Bulick. And I'm now really starting to get into remote broadcasting. So if you live anywhere in the entire world and you're free on a Friday or a Sunday at 7 p.m., reach me in Instagram or Facebook DM at Christopher Bulick. See our Patreon link in the description if you'd like to make a campaign contribution to facilitate our meteoric rise. And as a candidate of the people, I solemnly swear I won't misappropriate the funds. I won't spend them at Myrtle Beach golf courses. I won't gas up a corporate jet to fly to Tulum. I won't fund arms dealers in the Middle East with Stinger missiles and Harrier jets. I won't buy a bunch of stupid shit. Oh, fuck.
There he is. It's beautiful. Take your hat off, boy. That's a dollar bill.
In all seriousness, though, times are tough. Any proceeds we receive will be going towards avoiding eviction, keeping the lights on, medicating Clark with all of his health concerns, and feeding our gracious guests. Once again, if you feel you've been given value by us, it takes a little extra effort to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And this is your notification that the Good Faith Podcast is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Patreon, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcasts, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and RSS.com. We'll keep pushing out these episodes so long as our following stays growing. Here's a special shout out to our faraway friends in Melbourne, Christchurch, Perth, Nairobi, Kenya, Zambia, Nigeria, Venezuela, Uruguay, Brazil, London, Dusseldorf, Finland, China, Cabo, Tijuana, Mexico City, Bermuda, San Diego, San Jose, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland, Portland, Seattle, Spokane, Cheyenne, Omaha, Nebraska, Cedar Rapids, Salt Lake City, Denver, Colorado Springs, Phoenix, Las Cruces, Las Vegas, Chattanooga, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Raleigh, Asheville, Greenville, Birmingham, Atlanta, Orlando, Pensacola, Lexington, Columbus, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, St. Paul, Kenosha, St. Louis, Houston, Dallas, Detroit, Chicago, Nashville, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, South Bend, Charlottesville, Richmond, D.C., Winnipeg, Vancouver, Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Calgary, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Manchester.
Said, Happy Friday, Chris.
Yo, what's up, Caden? Newark, Syracuse, Albany, and New York City. You guys fill my heart with joy every time I see you. If you'd be so kind, do like Caden just did and chat while we're live, and we'll try and target your demographic with content specific to you.
Joseph Fowler said, fuck Dallas.
Yeah, F Dallas. But I want all the viewers I can get from everywhere. The path to notoriety, guys, is for you to spread the good word of the pod. If you have somebody in mind who would agree with our content, if they might be informed, if they want to ridicule us, send a link to your friends and family. All publicity is good publicity. Our objective is to have balance between the red and the blue side of the aisle. So if you have somebody in mind who enjoys listening to pods, please spread our channel. All right. At this time, guys, I'm going to introduce our special guest, and this is a first where I'm having a Zoom guest on, but it's not gonna be the last. I promise you that. So, please introduce yourself, Zach.
Hello there. My name is Zach Phelps-Roper, and I'm a former member of the Westboro Baptist Church of Topeka, Kansas.
And can you tell me?
Kelly Bullock said, "Did you say Coronado or San Diego, CA?"
Yeah, I just call Coronado San Diego. It's basically San Diego. All right. Can you say, Zach, your name? You said your name. Can you say your age, your occupation, and your highest level of education completed?
Yes. I'm 34 years old. I am a registered nurse, and my highest level education is a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degree.
Nice. And this might be a little inconvenient. Are you able to go to your settings? Do you have like a settings tab on your thing?
Yes, I think so.
Can you go to settings and then audio, and then it should say reduce mic background noise and echo cancellation, I think.
Yes, I believe it's already checked.
Okay, both of them are already checked?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that all right, sounds fine. And all right, are you on Instagram?
I am.
What's your IG handle so people can follow you if they'd like?
I believe it is Phelps-Roper 747.
Phelps. Any periods or just all one word?
Let me just double check here. No, there are no periods or hyphens. It's just Phelps-Roper, which is PHELPS, and then Roper, ROPER, and then the number is 747.
Okay, I'll put that in the description at the end of the episode if anyone's interested in following you. And do you want to talk about your relationship status and longest relationship?
Sure.
Kelly Bullock said, "Lost his faith."
No, he's back. I think he was just. You should. Yeah. You're fine. You're fine. Sorry. What was your relationship status? Longest relationship?
I'm currently single. My longest relationship was about 3.5 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's about the same with me. Currently single, 3.5 years. And if you care, do you care telling us about your sexual orientation?
Sure, I'm straight.
All right, same here. And what is your spiritual denomination, I guess?
I guess you'd call it spiritual, but not religious in a mainstream sense, anyways. More on that later, though.
Okay. And I would consider myself like a non-denominational Christian, although there are like certain denominations that I am fine with. You know, I tend to gravitate towards the Baptist or the Reformed or the Methodists, I guess. But yeah, I would consider myself non-denominational. Now, all right. So here's a fun little question, just so we can get to know you a little bit better. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Strength.
Super strength? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The greatest heroes are all very physically strong.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get there, though. I do work out about 2 to 3 hours a day on my days off from work.
Nice. What do you have, like, do you do it at home or are you part of a gym?
I go to a gym. Lately, I've been trying to break into the big three, like the bench press, the deadlift, and the squats. I also did the Rock Pack Challenge in May, where I wore a 46-pound vest and walked at least 55 miles.
Wow.
So, yeah.
In one sitting? All in one sitting?
No, no. No, that'd be way too much, way too fast.
Like how long of a time duration did it take to walk 55 miles?
It took the entire month of May.
Okay. All right. That's still impressive. I'm sure that's more than I have done or could do in 1 month. And how much weight did you say you were wearing?
It was 46 pounds. Yeah, I've since got an even heavier weighted vest that can hold up to 300 pounds, and I'm gradually increasing it. I believe I'm at 60 pounds now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think if I could choose my superpower, it'd be Kryptonian cells, like Superman. I don't even necessarily need to be able to fly or have heat vision or frost breath. I just need to be able to like be shot with a bullet and be fine, and whatever like that.
So you want to be invulnerable.
Yeah. All right. Here's another question. If a genie could grant you 3 wishes, but it can't be immortality, more wishes, or impeding on the free will of others, what would your 3 wishes be?
I could always use more wisdom.
Okay.
I could also wish for world peace, an end to war, in other words.
Okay. I think that might be impeding on others' free will, maybe. World peace.
Perhaps. Okay, so two other wishes. I wish that I could become very persuasive, if I'm not already.
Oh, okay. All right.
And what third wish would I want? I would wish that my sons grew up to be kind and loving people.
That's a great one. All right.
They're well on their way to it, though. They're 6 and 8 years old, by the way.
Okay. So we have a little hold up a sec. We have a little segment of the show where we like to level up our gentlemen, and the fragrance of the week is Usher. Oh, this one, it's like a top 3 fragrance in my collection. I think it's just called Usher for Men. It's woody, aromatic. It was launched in 2007. Features a blend of fruity top notes like melon, pineapple, and lemon verbena with a heart of lavender, white pepper, and violet leaf, rounded out by a base of vetiver, amber, suede, sandalwood, musk, and guaiac wood. The shirt of the week, Kenneth Cole. Hat of the week, Seattle Mariners, because I'm talking to my guy over in over in the Pacific Northwest. I have a saying: look good, smell good, play good. The assets of the week to watch are Lockheed Martin and Palantir. Even if because I think this this ceasefire, it's gonna cause those types of wartime stocks to go down a little bit. So I'm choosing to buy the dip on those. Book of the week is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and that's all about just living in the moment. It's on the MOA reading list, something that I definitely would like to get around to. And on this podcast, we're going to talk about another book of the week because our special guest is a published author who's on the Amazon bookstore. So I really want to get into it with him about his book. And movie villain of the week is Denise Richards from Starship Troopers, because I just saw like a meme last night and it said that growing up is realizing that what was his name, Johnny, I think. growing up is realizing that Johnny should have chosen what the fuck? Well, I forget what her name was. I think it was like Izzy or something like that instead of Denise Richards. And it's like true because Denise Richards, she like, her hypergamy was satisfied by that like fighter pilot. She, went off and followed him onto that bug planet. And then the brain bug like shoved that like, like that fang into his like head and like sucked his brains out and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, but anyway, enough of that. Let's go back and let's talk about, do you want to debut your book right now?
Certainly. By the way, Starship Troopers is one of my 10 favorite movies.
Really?
No kidding. It really is.
It's been so long since I watched it, but that was one of the movies I used to have on like VHS, and like we would watch it like, once a year back in the days when we were kids.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's so funny.
It's
an amazing movie. I love it.
Who was the girl? Was I right about Izzy? Is that her name?
I think her name is Dizzy.
Dizzy, yeah. He should have been with Dizzy, not with Denise Richards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Carmen.
Uh-huh.
That was his first love interest until she twisted the knife in and said, "Oh, we should just be friends."
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So I have my book here. This is our hardback copy. I wrote a book called The Masters: How to Achieve Self-Mastery and Spiritual Enlightenment. It's a book about the teachings of 24 religious, spiritual, and philosophical teachers, including such big names as the Buddha, Jesus, Socrates, Lao Tzu, Confucius, and 19 others. These are all teachers from across all of recorded human history that I believe have something worth listening to. In each of the chapters, I introduce each of those masters for a page or two of their biography, a selection of their teachings, which is also another page or two, and then somewhere between 50 to 100 quotes attributed to each of the masters as I call them. The whole point of the book is to learn how to achieve self-mastery and spiritual enlightenment. But what is self-mastery? Self-mastery has 4 components according to the teachers that I learned from lonerwolf.com. This includes the ability to be aware of our emotions, which is also called mindfulness. The second aspect is the ability to realize that we are not our thoughts and emotions, which creates a sense of detachment from them. Third, it includes the perspective that we are able to stop reacting out of toxic negative emotions like hatred, jealousy, and fear, also called self-regulation. And the final aspect of self-mastery is the ability to simply live your life with peace and wisdom, which could also be called tranquility. So I try to, perhaps I may undersell, but I hope to overachieve with this book. It costs somewhere between $17 and $24, I believe, on Amazon, depending on how you would like to purchase it. Also on Kindle, I think for about $10 or $11. I'm not trying to get rich with this book by any means. I spent more than a year, studying all these teachers. But I think this, if I had no other contribution to humanity, I think that this would be an amazing thing to leave behind for posterity. I learned a lot from those teachers, and even to this day, I like to reread some of the quotes of each of those teachers. So, yeah.
And like I actually have some friends who are aspiring authors. So what's like the process for getting published and like getting your work out into the hands of the public?
So there are 2 routes you could take. Either you could get published by a book publisher, or you self-publish, which is what I did.
Uh-huh.
Self-publishing is where you basically, cover all the costs up front. So far, I've invested about $6,700 some into the book, but I definitely think it was worth it. like I said, even if I never sold another copy of the book, I'm very proud of what I achieved here. I'm very proud of the hard work that I put into it, and yeah, this is something that I could give my sons when they get older, something I could teach them from. I've written about other subjects too, but those wouldn't be considered perhaps the best in financial investments, I should say.
And so what's like the payout structure? Like for every one person who buys a copy, like do you get like a nickel or something like that?
I think it's somewhere between $7 and $10, something like that.
Every copy. Wow.
Yeah, I think it is more because I self-published it versus going through a publisher. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, that is true. However, no, I'll just leave it at that, actually.
All right. Well, I mean, definitely, if anyone out there is interested in self-publishing a book, I think it's like a lot more feasible of an outlet these days than it used to be maybe like, 45, 50 years ago when you needed, like Penguin Publishing or whatever to get your book out there. Now you can just, like write a book and self-publish it, and then for every single copy that you sell, you get, even let's lowball, you say $5 per copy. That's not bad. If you can, like, come up with a really good book that sells thousands of copies, you're gonna make your money back quickly, and that's and at the very least, you have like a contribution to humanity that will be here after you're gone, and that's all we really want anyway.
Yes,
Um,
it is important.
so let me. I'm actually going to give a. Because I'm actually beholden to some endorsements. So why don't I? Yeah, why don't I put them up on the screen now? All right, guys. It's time we talk about a pressing issue. And we all know that as men, it's our duty to perform, whether it's, at the publishing house, at the trading desk, on the gridiron, on the hardwood court, or inside the illustrious bedroom. There's no description that does justice to the confidence boost you'll receive when you rock the socks off your lover. So how are you going to do it? With a limp strand of rope? No. Would you want to be the safe option? Do you want to be Johnny to her Denise Richards, or do you want to be Johnny to her Dizzy? Like you want to make her dizzy when you're like, going to town in the bedroom. So how are you going to do that? You're going to do that with the only blue pill that we endorse at the Good Faith Podcast, which is It's Mr. Nasty Time Blue Pills. And yes, we're talking about those pills that make you run, Forrest, run. Get the enthusiasm that Jenny has for that gang of Black Panthers and Wall Street stockbrokers, not the tepid tolerance she has for Forrest. Forget about overpriced hymns, Romans, Blue Chews. It's Mr. Nasty Time as the real deal at an amazing price that won't let you down and can't be beat. And I know what you're probably thinking. What if she cancels on me and I take a couple of these and I'm all bricked up in my trousers? Well, I've tried these bad boys. It's a lot more mellow than you'd expect. You could pop one over drinks. It's not going to give away your position. Or due to the quick acting effect, go to the bathroom, pop one or two in, be fully equipped to perform. Just like all the expensive name brands, Mr. Nasty delivers his products in discreet packaging but for a fraction of the outrageous cost that they do. Around here at the GFP, we're about leveling up, and why not level up your sex life and check out It's Mr. Nasty Time to get your mojo back. Scan the QR code on the screen or hit the link in the description and guarantee yourself unrivaled pleasure. When her dual mating strategy has her playing picky-choosy between the bad boy and the little nice guy, you know exactly who you want to be. You want to be the bad guy, all right? It's Mr. Nasty Time. Give him a call. And right here is what do we got? Right here is the QR code. All you got to do is scan that QR code. You're going to be directed right to his Telegram page, and he's going to get it out to you in, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 business days. It comes really quick. And that's the only thing that'll be coming really quick. All right. So, can we like talk about your life story? Because you got a fascinating life story. You started. Did you, like we could start at the Westboro Baptist Church? We could even start before. Why don't you tell me what your life was like? You know what happened and what it's like now.
Certainly. So yeah, I was born in 1991 to Brent and Shirley Phelps-Roper, who were members of the Westboro Baptist Church of Topeka, Kansas. Throughout my childhood, I was on the picket line most days of the week, I would say. I was raised in public schools. I got straight A's for the most part throughout my education, but when I was on the picket line, it was very dangerous. It was almost like a battlefield. I recognized from early on that it was not very supportive of my mental health, and I ended up leaving the church at 23 years of age after realizing that I did not have the unconditional love of my parents and of the people of the church. I realized that I was never going to be truly happy there. And so I made the very difficult decision in 2014 to leave the church and never return.
Okay, and like just give me a little bit of description of their comings and goings. Like I know they like say like God hates, you know, F words and you know like protests like soldiers, funerals and stuff like that. Is that basically you know all they do, or is there more like heinous activity that they do?
Yes, I would love to give you more information about the church. The church typically has around 70 members, and every year or so, a person usually leaves the church that was either born into it or that joined it later on. The
Mhm.
church is a Christian extremist sect, and they are considered an independent Baptist church, which is not a part of any other Baptist church in the country or in the world. So they're very isolated. They have an absolute truth that they cling to. They think that they have all of the answers of life, and this makes them makes it very difficult to have a conversation with them because they believe they already have the absolute truth and that nobody outside of the church can teach them anything. And so hence they have closed off their hearts and minds to the people outside of the church. And when people do leave the church, which is often their blood relatives, like me leaving behind, you know, I was the fourth of my parents' children to leave, and I have 10 siblings.
Jeez.
So yeah, I left behind most of my siblings when I left the church, and I also had to cut ties with everyone else there as well. I've had very little contact with my parents since I left the church, or with anyone else there for that matter. It is by their choice that they don't wish to have any contact with those who leave. They believe that I am a heretic and that I will lead them and their children to hell. So, yeah, they have no contact with me whatsoever. I can't go up to my parents' house, ring the doorbell, and come in and ask for a cup of coffee or anything like that. They would probably call the police on me if I did.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's
Are
okay.
there and is like going to like Planned Parenthoods and like throwing tomatoes, is that part of their thing too?
They're very much anti-abortion.
Mhm.
They picketed the funeral of an abortion doctor. I think his name was, I can't remember his name. Tillman, maybe? Something like that. They picketed the funeral, but yeah, they definitely are anti-abortion. They are pro-life under all circumstances.
Rick then said, "Thanks, Zach, for appearing. So is most of the church basically just family members?"
Could you hear that? Did that come in
Yeah,
loud and
yeah,
clear?
I would say about 80% of the members of the church are related to me by blood or marriage, yes.
Well, I mean, I obviously like vehemently disagree with like going to people's funerals. However, I do find abortion to be morally reprehensible. Where are your where do you lie on this topic?
Growing up at the church, I was vehemently anti-abortion under all circumstances. Having since left the church, though, I have developed kind of a nuanced perspective on abortion. Um, I believe that it's possible to be both pro-life and to be pro-choice, in the sense that I would rather avoid abortion wherever possible, but there are those circumstances in which a child could be the product of incest, which might result in a child with severe birth defects, as well as the result of a child that is the result of a rape, in which case the child was not wanted. And there are other circumstances in which a child, like let's say a teenager, gets pregnant and trying to bring a child to term, to bring a baby to term, might endanger the life of that young girl. So I believe that wherever possible, it would be great to be avoided because it is the termination of a human life, which is very precious to me. I regard every human being on this planet as a part of my family. We are one tribe, there is no other. We all belong here. However, I do understand that it's not always possible. Wherever possible, I would rather have let a
Are you
child be
banned from
adopted.
visiting the UK? I thought at one time they formally banned members from the church.
I can repeat questions if you want. He
I
asked if
think I caught that one.
yeah, and you could even go into the chat section and you could probably see it on your thing. But yeah, asked if you're banned from visiting the UK. I thought at one time they formally banned members from the church.
Yes, they did actually. I think within about 5 years of my departure from the church, so either like the late 2000s or the early 2010s, there was my mother, Shirley Phelps-Roper, as well as my grandfather, the late Fred Phelps Sr., were both banned from entering the UK.
Well, there's I guess yeah, I guess it's unfortunate, but so and all right, so let's move it along here. So you leave the church, and then and then what happens in your life? Oh, actually, wait. I want to before we gloss over something. Do you feel you were given any divine inspiration to leave the church, or was it kind of just like a intuitive, like what describe your emotional and spiritual
Journey?
inspiration for leaving? Yeah.
Yeah, so when I left the church, I was still a believer in much of the faith, but I believed at that time that the God of Westboro Baptist Church was not kind and that did not recognize the good works and the kind things that I did there. I believed that I had been punished for doing good things. However, since having left the church and have been exposed to hundreds of different perspectives from hundreds of different people that I've met over the years, I've come to see that Westboro's ideology is they're very closed-minded, and they think that they know everything about the universe, about life. I think that any person that I come across could teach me at least 100 things. And so when I first left the church, I was a broken man, I would say. I was a broken young man of 23 years of age, and my self-esteem had never been lower. I battled mental illness for several years after having left the church. Eventually, I think I found a place of inner strength, and I started to learn about like the teachings of these masters, for instance. But one thing that has guided me since I left the church is the idea that unconditional love is not only feasible, but is practical and possible to have for other people. I believe that it's important that we love the tribe, that we serve each other. I believe that every person could teach me something. I believe that I could teach other people something as well. And so unconditional love is my pole star. I try to be kind to other people. At the same time, I would say that I do not abide devilry. I would say that anybody who is maliciously, repeatedly, continuously trying to hurt other people, unfortunately, is at odds with my faith.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like resent this like fire and brimstone, like angry, vengeful, punishing God. And I was thinking about it today, and it's like they all resent that God because they all resent that God until it comes to sharing the heavenly kingdom with Adolf Hitler. And then they think that, like, obviously a person like that deserves to, burn in an eternal lake of fire, so like I think a lot of people like to relatively place their sins like below the threshold of like eternal damnation and stuff like that, but they want, like they want an angry vengeful God who's not angry and vengeful at them for what they did. They want to just, be promised eternal salvation in heaven, but like, they really don't want it to be contingent upon any of their behavior. They just wanted to be promised eternal bliss in heaven. What do you think do you think that's fair?
So I would say this: I will never try to convince someone of anything. I can offer my perspective to other people, but if someone wants to believe or does believe in an afterlife, um, I claim to be a soft agnostic in the sense of I don't know if there is a God or higher power, but I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong if you believe that there is or that there isn't one definitively. So whether you believe in a God or if you're an atheist or if you're another agnostic like myself who doesn't claim to have all the answers, I, I would quote Thomas Jefferson in so many words. He once said that, if my neighbor believes in God, that doesn't pick my pocket or kick me in the shins.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact way he put it, but that was my general impression.
Okay, so you leave the church, and then are you still in Kansas, or do you make the move upon your exit?
I ended up leaving Kansas about the end of 2016, if I remember correctly. I was in a long distance relationship with a woman that I met online, and I was in Utah with her for several years. She's the mother of my two sons, Adam and David, who are 8 and 6 years old, respectively. Since that time, and since I separated from their mother, I have moved probably around a dozen times or so in my life, I would say. Much of that was due to travel nursing at the height of COVID. So, yeah, and that's ultimately what brought me to Yakima, Washington. I've been here for about a year. I found a permanent position at the local hospital.
And did you name your kids after Adam and David from the Bible?
Actually, I didn't. That was just a coincidence. One of
Okay.
my good friends, his name is Adam, and two of my best friends growing up in the church were a David and a Hezekiah. So my second son is named David Hezekiah after those best friends of mine. So I didn't actually intend to name them after Bible characters. I named them because I love my friends and family.
All right. So you get to what is it? Yakua? What? What is it?
Oh, Yakima.
Yakima. Okay, so you get to Yakima, Washington, and is that like a rural town? Is it like what's the population there?
I think there's at least 90,000 in Yakima.
Okay.
There's a couple of other small, I don't know if you call them suburbs, like there's Union Gap that's nearby. There's probably more than 100,000 people within, I don't know, a 10-mile radius of my home.
Okay.
So it's not rural by any means. There's definitely some people here.
Okay. Have you ever have you seen those big redwood trees? Is that Northern California or is that Washington? The big thick redwood trees?
I'm not sure where those trees are located, to be honest. I haven't seen any around here.
Okay. It must be Northern California. I always kind of just assume that Northern California and Washington and Oregon are all like I always just assumed the whole Pacific Northwest is just one big like giant deciduous forest. And how's the weather up there? Because in Philadelphia, we have had the most menopausal weather of all time. It'll be 95 degrees with like crazy humidity that makes it feel like 105 degrees, and then the next minute it's like pouring rain and like our trees are getting struck by lightning and
Kelly
falling
Boyd
down.
said, Northern Cal.
Northern Cal, okay. Yeah, but it'll be 105 degrees. Next minute, it's
Kelly
pouring.
Boyd said, Cal.
Yeah. Next minute, it's like pouring rain and lightning striking our trees. They're falling down over the power lines. Are like power's going out. So like the weather in Philadelphia has been like crazy. Is it? I heard that in like northern Washington, the weather's like also very similar. Is that true?
Yakima's had pretty mild weather. Like in the winter time, we only ever got like maybe 1 inch of snow, and by the end of the day, it was usually melted. And so far, we've only had one day, I think, in the 90s. So
Okay.
like it's in the 80s today. It's not bad.
Is it very rainy though?
No, not really. Especially not compared to like maybe Forks or Seattle.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
And all right, so you know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run another ad real quick, and then we'll get back into this. We'll get back into this interview real quick. So let me. How do I do this? Here we go. All right. So, guys and gals, I don't think it's any mystery that I take my physique very seriously. I'm buckling down. As you can see, I cut out the Coke entirely. I'm just drinking water. Water. I'm getting into meal prepping, boiled chicken and rice, working on muscles in my body that I never prioritized before. Targeted fat burn, cardiovascular health over muscle mass and gains. I used to just eat whatever I craved and try to outwork a poor diet, and it was all to no avail. There are still times when I have to force myself to eat, but I need no coercion to munch on Holler Boys jerky. And tonight, what I got is the honey habanero flavor. Guys, you can't just stuff empty calories down your blowhole. So here's the remedy. It's Holler Boys jerky. They pack 10 grams of lean protein into a fantastic package, and the flavors are to die for. Peach bourbon, honey habanero, which is what I got right here, Southern barbecue, Chesapeake, Fuego, or the tried and true original. My personal
Kelly
favorites.
Boyd said, proud of you to minimize soda.
Yeah, I mean, I never really liked soda. I just started investing in Coca-Cola, and so therefore I thought I'd drink it, but like it's pointless. Yeah, I mean, I probably should even cut out the pizza and literally I'll just eat. The only food I'll eat is by like companies that sponsor me. That's going to be my new goal. My personal favorites are the peach and the habanero, but we all know I'm a little bit sweet and zesty. What's even better about Holler Boys is they're nice and local in tax-friendly Middletown, Delaware. They're founded by a father-son duo. They just started tinkering with their backyard smoker, and through trial and failure, I've come to present some of the boldest and most memorable flavors I can recall in my beef sampling experience. Do we got another one? I think this comment's about to come in.
Kelly Bullock said, shoot, you didn't bring me any and I forgot to get some for Greg's day.
Well, you can, I mean, the good thing is they're on like the Amazon page or whatever. You can always order it. Forget Slim Jim, Jack Link's, Deets Nuts, Holler Boy Snacks packs a great nutritional value in a filling serving size for an affordable price to stretch your to stretch your dollar with flavor for days that'll make you holler. Their mission statement rings true to the Good Faith podcast that life may throw you around, but you can never give up. How true. Scan the QR code on the screen. Mom, if you want to get some for Greg, scan the QR code on the screen. And find their link in the description. Tap into the best beef jerky on the market. Holler Boys Jerky. That's holler with an A. Holler Boys Jerky, the only good jerk. And I'm going to break into some of this honey habanero jerky. And why don't you all right, so you're in Washington, and why don't we go into, the present?
Riven said, now that you have left the church, do you feel that WBC is solely based on hate or just a group of closed-minded individuals?
Did you hear that one good?
It didn't quite come out very well.
He said, now that you left what did he go? Now that you left Westboro Baptist Church, do you feel that it is solely based on hate or just a group of closed-minded individuals?
Well, I don't think that they necessarily... Wait, let me think about that. Okay. So... if you spoke to someone at Westboro, they would probably tell you that they don't hate anybody. I can tell you one thing. I was not raised to be appreciative or respectful towards LGBT people. And until I left the church, I was anti-LGBT. It wasn't until I met some kind people after leaving the church that I started to question those perspectives. I don't think that everybody at Westboro is necessarily closed-minded, but the people who end up staying there usually are, because, like I said, if you're not open to learning from other people or from other, to opening your heart or mind to other experiences, other thoughts about, other holy books, I don't know. They kind of in hindsight, I feel like I was intellectually arrogant in a way because I thought that I already knew everything. And clearly I didn't. After leaving the church, I learned that there were so many kind people in this world. And even though I was raised as a Christian, I was not raised as a typical Christian in this country. The Westboro Baptist Church does not run a food pantry, but there are other churches that do.
Oh yeah, my the church that I volunteer at and I watch their service every Sunday, their cup runneth over with with the community donating to them, and I'll shout them out right now. Willow Grove Baptist Church, their food pantry and their clothing closet, and it's my job to bring in the stuff, because they have donation bins outside. It's my job to bring in the stuff, and it takes it takes a team of 5 of us an hour to bring it all in and take it all out. That's how many donations they get from the community.
Wow.
Kate then said, happy Friday, friends.
Happy Friday, Kate. So Kate, if you're just joining us right now, my special guest, Zach, he was a member of Westboro Baptist Church. They're those creeps that protest soldiers' funerals and protest abortion clinics and throw tomatoes at young teens that are getting an abortion, and and so he was born and raised in that.
Human said, "Hi Zach, nice to meet you."
Hi.
But
Nice to
yeah,
meet
but
you too.
he felt it weighing heavy on his heart to that he was not in the right place, and so he like picked up his stuff and he moved, even despite excommunication from the church. So why don't we get into your aspirations for the future and potentially going into like public service?
Yeah, I would love to. So, ever since I left the church, really, I've had this thought in the back of my mind that I wanted to run for the presidency of the United States of America. And I still have that feeling in my heart today. I don't know when that might come to pass, but since I've made it my life purpose and committed myself that no matter what happens in the future, what life circumstances I have,
Said,
I'm
"Wow,
going to try to run.
for following what your heart told you to do. That's not easy."
Sorry, keep going.
True. In my effort to grow into a world-class leader, I am spending every day that I'm not at work trying to read at least for 3 hours a day, as well as going to the gym or exercising for 2 to 3 hours a day. I want to be physically, emotionally, and rationally strong and be able to inspire other people to take action in their communities as well. I didn't mention this earlier, but I actually did volunteer at a food pantry just this morning, St. Michael's in Yakima. Um, I believe in community service. I think that it's very important that we respect, serve, and love each other. We are one tribe. There is no other, and we all belong here. Every person on this planet, even the ones who are making it a horrible place for other people, every one of us deserves unconditional love, I believe. And I think that Jesus said, we should love our enemies. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to agree with their actions, and we should take steps to oppose those who are trying to make the world a worse place. But that does not mean that we should hate them or to think that they can't teach us something. There are easy teachers in this world of whom I believe I am, and there are hard teachers. And experience is one of the hardest teachers. Life is so very difficult. How can we be anything but kind?
That's like interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say that before. So what, can you expand on easy teachers versus hard teachers? Pretend, let's just pretend hypothetically I'm an idiot and I need to have concepts beaten into my head. So like what's an easy teacher? What are some examples of easy teachers and hard teachers?
So easy teachers are the people that practice love and compassion for others. An easy teacher would be someone like one of these masters that I wrote about. For instance, like the Buddha, I thought was an easy teacher. I thought that Jesus was an easy teacher. And Socrates was an easy teacher. The hard teachers include those people that come into our life that teach us lessons. Like, for instance, we can't trust everybody, unfortunately, because there are those people that will try to rob you if you trust. Unfortunately, not everybody has a kind heart. And another example of a hard teacher from my book, at least, was a guy named Diogenes of Sinope, Diogenes the dog. He was a hell of a hard teacher. He was kind of a wanderer. He did not work. He begged for food and stuff, and he admired dogs of all creatures. And sometimes he would be like, people would mock him and say that he was a dog, and he would go over and literally pee on somebody. And he said, he said, "I pissed on the man that called me a dog. Why was he so surprised?" So yeah, hard teachers are those people that come into your life not because they want to teach you something, but because they want to take advantage of you. So hopefully that makes sense.
Okay. I think I might, unfortunately, I think I might be a little bit more of a hard teacher. Maybe I kind of want to be a hard teacher. I don't know. Maybe being on the East Coast just like hardens people and makes them, have like thick skin and have to, be a little bit more have like a little bit rockier of a personality. Um, so what if you don't mind disclosing, which political party do you lean towards more?
I'm 100% a libertarian.
And that's just straight down the middle?
Libertarians kind of take the best of what the Republicans have and the best of what the Democrats have, which is
Mhm.
to say, the Republicans believe in economic freedom and the Democrats believe in social or individual freedoms. Libertarians are for both of those things. If I were to say become president, one of the things that I would want to do is eliminate taxation, because I believe that that is a tactic of warlords, and it is not necessary. It is destructive. From what I've read, and I've read at least 14 books on economics, and I've read 4 on libertarianism, and I can tell you this much. It's estimated that as much as half of our income of any individual person in this country is going to taxes. And I think that's bullshit. I think that people could be convinced to donate 1, 2, or 3% of their income to a government that is just, that is righteous, that is honest and transparent. It's I think that that's possible. And as a libertarian, I believe that that's something that I need to fight for.
Okay. And do you think that do you foresee any challenges or obstacles in trying to run unaffiliated to both the like two most powerful parties?
Oh, no doubt it'll be challenging, but then again, I love a challenge.
Good. All right.
And I feel very confident. And like I said earlier, I am studying upwards of 3 hours a day, various things. Like I'm restudying matters like anatomy and physiology, for instance. I'm studying criminology for the first time. And I'm just doing a lot of reading and preparing myself. I don't know when it will be that I will run for public office, but I want to be prepared. I do not want to come into power and make decisions that don't benefit everyone. Because when you go into public office, your decisions, the economic effects, even if you have good intentions, the economic effects of your decisions need to be known and calculated and strategic. I mean, I could tell you about the minimum wage, for instance, and why I think that's a bad idea. And in fact, if you study economics, you'll find that most economists will argue that it's a bad idea. Even though most people tend to think that it's popular, it doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean that it's wise. Economics can be very counterintuitive, and of all people, I think I should know that.
So, so you're a fan of abolishing all minimum wages? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, here's why. I can explain a little bit. So, 1.5% of Americans are actually affected by the minimum wage. Now, if you go to a job, and let's say you're fresh out of high school or you didn't graduate high school and you are desperate to find any job, right? The people that need the minimum wage the most can't do with, you know what I mean? Like, let me reword that actually. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. But let's say you go to Dairy Queen, for instance, and you're willing to work for $5 an hour. And, as you become more experienced and get better at the job, your boss would be willing to pay you more than that. Who am I as a public figure or as a politician? Why is it my right to say that you can't do that?
Well, are you I would say some folks might exploit people, based on their minimum skills and minimum standards for their own employment. I could, you could definitely find, some kid on the corner who's, supposed to be in like 11th grade, and just pluck him up, instead of forcing him to go to school or something like that. You could just shove him in a factory and pay him $2 an hour.
I'm just thinking through my response.
Mhm.
Did you know that the minimum wage actually creates more unemployment than it takes away? Because, like I said, if an employer is only able to pay you, say, $5 an hour, and he wants to hire, let's see here, what's a good mathematical example of this? Let's say that he would rather have 7 employees who he pays $5 an hour, but he can only hire 5 employees for $7 an hour because of the minimum wage. Now that employer is less productive. And those 2 people that he couldn't hire go without a job.
Yeah.
So you see, it does create unemployment. And the people who are affected the most by the minimum wage are the people who desperately need a job. In fact, if you look at from an economic standpoint, the reason why the minimum wage is so popular, I think, is because once again, I'm just trying to think this through. I've studied this topic many times, but I just want to make sure that I'm thinking through it as well as I can. That's right. So the people who I had it there, it was
1 eternity later.
very funny. Let's just move on to a different topic, shall we?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's a privilege of living in like a low cost of living state. And also being like a relatively unspecialized laborer is I'm closer to the bottom of like minimum wages than I am to the top. So but like I would also be like pretty offended if, let's say, I don't know, because like if the minimum wage were to come up a little bit and then like meet me where I'm at, then like people would be getting hired into my company and making the exact same amount of money as me, who's been there for 3.5 years. I don't really think that's fair either. So like I see both sides, and I do think I'm a little bit more on the side of like like a livable wage, because like the cost of living in America is going through the roof. I think in in like the early 50s, when like a lot of our when a lot of our parents were babies, the cost of like the average salary, I think you could work the average salary for 2 years and purchase the average home. Nowadays, I think you need to work 8 years on the average salary to purchase the average home. So like, the cost of living in America has multiplied by 4 in a couple of generations, and if this keeps going at the same exact pace, when we have grandchildren, they're going to be needing to work for 16 years just to buy a home. And I think that's assuming that you put every single penny that you earn aside for 16 years, which is totally not, reasonable, so like we have definitely like a problem with prices, with the cost of living, with inflation all going out the window, and I think it's all because of like a fiat currency, because for about like 50 years our currency has been taken off the gold standard, and it's really just like backed by nothing. It's backed by like an empty promise of the American government to say, hey, like we're America, our money, we're good for it, but really they're not.
I have something else to say
Yes.
about the minimum wage
As
now that I've got a
president,
moment.
what would be your first 3 challenges you would address?
As president, what would be your first 3 challenges you would address?
The first challenge is eliminating taxation. And the thing is that a minimum wage does not guarantee that you're going to be able to survive. The bigger problem, I think, that is not a minimum wage, but rather an end to taxation. Because, like I said, if 50% or more of your income is going away to taxes, and a lot of these taxes are hidden in the price of goods that you wouldn't even think of, like in the use of your telephone, for instance, having more money in your pocket that isn't being forcibly taken away from you, that would reduce poverty by more than any other measure that I can think of. And in fact, I have read that there are, like, let's see here, there was an economics book that I read that said, and this was a bit probably 20 or 30 years ago, but they said that there was actually 4 times as many homes or like apartments in New York City as there were homeless people. And it wasn't because that there wasn't homes available, but because they had rent control.
Yeah.
And rent control is kind of like, so if you think of it this way, so like the minimum wage is that is a price floor, which is, or wait, is it a price ceiling or a price floor? It's a price floor. You can't hire someone for less than, what is it, $7 an hour, whereas the rent control is a price ceiling. So if it's not economically feasible for a landlord to, let's say that they have to get at least $1,000 in rent to cover their costs, if rent control is instituted, then they can only say make, I don't know, $600 or $700 per month from rent. This discourages people from becoming landlords, and actually, I believe it was somewhere in the East, like in China, it actually promoted the destruction of apartments and domiciles by landlords, because they were not making as much money as they could by just torching the place and then selling the property, the land that it was on, for something better. So yeah. But yeah, the 3 biggest challenges, I would say, the first is definitely an end to taxation, because that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest of the social ills. We are not living in the Mongol Empire or the Roman Empire. Why the hell do we have? Why the hell are we still paying taxes? Why can't we work together to solve our problems and come together voluntarily to do that? I'm just saying, like, there are 32,000 homeless people here in Washington State, an increase from 28,000 from last year. I read an article, or actually I listened to a news report less than 2 months ago, and they said that the operations budget for Washington State was $77 billion for 2 years. Now, I did the math. There are about 8 million people in Washington State, and that comes out to about $400 per person per month. That's like the cost of a car. And what good are we getting out of it? And that's just one form of taxation.
How many homeless people did you say you had in Washington?
There are 32,000 currently. There were 28,000 last year. So the number is growing.
That's crazy, because Pennsylvania has an estimated 15,000, and we're one of the 5 largest states in America. So you guys have almost twice. You guys have what? More, I think, more than twice as many homeless people, and yet and yet a smaller population. That's pretty alarming for sure, you know?
Yeah, and it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It doesn't need to be this way. People shouldn't be taking, the government should not be parasitically taking 50% of the income of everybody for what? To line their pockets? It's bullshit. It leads to homelessness, it leads to poverty, it leads to an increase in crime, I'll tell you that much. Because if you are too desperate to be able to get help, crime is an occupation that is open to everyone at any time.
Mm-hmm.
The other two big problems of our society, I would say, is the endless wars, for one. We should bring our troops back to the United States. We should get the hell out of, what is it, like 100 military bases around the world? Why the hell do we need 100 military bases? Why are they not here? Why are our soldiers not here protecting our borders? Why do we have all these military bases?
And your third challenge, you said taxation, foreign conflict, and what would be your third challenge that you would address?
Well, in order to reduce taxation, we would drastically need to reduce the size of government. So I would say figuring out what services are best served by the government and what services are best served by the private sector would be an important consideration. We want to make sure also that our soldiers, like for instance, it's called Veterans Affairs, the VA. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I am a true believer in, heroes. I believe, we have a lot of heroes, and we have homeless veterans that are homeless, veterans that are committing suicide, upwards, I don't know exactly what, but just speaking from a mental health standpoint, I believe that I read that there was around 47,000 people that commit suicide every year in this who actually die from suicide in this country alone, and more than 1.5 million attempt suicide every year. That comes out to a person, I believe, about every 10 minutes is committing suicide. Would like to tackle.
I think you're freezing up right now. How's your? I think we lost. Are you there? Can you? I think you froze up a little bit, but
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, but I got the gist of what you were saying. You said there's about one suicide every 10 minutes in America, and I mean it's pretty convenient that we're talking about this now. It's June, which is supposed to be Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm actually, I think it's tomorrow. I'm going on a fellow MOA member, Glenn Gilbert's podcast, and his. I think you would love him. He's also. Are you familiar with him at all?
I don't think so.
You should look him up. I think he's also in the Seattle area, and his whole entire purpose is to diminish like men's self-deletion rates and stuff like that. He's got like an entire podcast channel dedicated to it, and like a lot of he like really gets into the minute details of the most susceptible demographics, which are 45-year-old men who have just been divorced and like might be alienated from their kids because of custody courts ruling in favorably of men and stuff like that. So I like I'm really excited to be on his podcast. I think he's gonna I think his podcast is gonna explode. I really do. It's like super small right now. I don't think it even has like more than 100 subscribers right now. So guys, if you would check out Glenn Gilbert. Glenn Gilbert. I'm going to be on his podcast tomorrow. I was on the GOAT show last week, or I think it might have even been a couple of days ago. Are you all good? We're losing you. You just went black.
Sorry.
Here we go. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. But yeah, but that this is a topic very important to me, is like men's mental health, and I want to be like a men's self-improvement podcast as well. Like the burden of performance is on men throughout the history of humanity. I think less than like 30% of all men throughout history have had the privilege of reproducing. Whereas women, like, I think, more than 80% of women throughout history have reproduced. So, like, I mean, and it's a lot to do with war, because a lot of men were just like meat shields in the, like wars of mankind. They were just, they turned 16, and then some like dictator was like, hey, go die on a battlefield so I can, be rich and stuff like that. And I don't think we're like, it might have been more modernized. It might have been like polished up and changed a little bit, but still, that is still the gist of like the male experience. Like if you're particularly impoverished, if you're particularly like unskilled and have like very little outlets, like there's always the GI Bill that you can always go, fight in a war, and you will be taken care of by the United States government. But what ends up happening a lot is that those people get addicted to drugs. They end up homeless. They end up on the street corners, like begging, for pocket change, panhandling. And I think that's like an absolute travesty. I think the veterans of this country deserve the absolute best treatment, and I like, I hope to be able to serve them, in the future.
Too true.
So, is there anything else that you want to talk about, or can I, why don't, all right. So we've talked about what you came from, what you plan to do. Why don't we talk about a little bit about your like dating prospects? Like what kind of girl do you hope to settle down with and marry?
Someone who respects me, someone who's kind, and someone who supports my ambitions of running for public office.
Okay.
Those are the three things from a personality standpoint. I don't yeah, anyways, but I'm not really making that my main goal in life.
Yeah.
I want to serve humanity. I want to run for public office more so than anything else. And regardless of whether I meet someone in the next couple of years or whatever, it's not the end of the world for me. I want to do this more so than anything else. I want people to be able to be inspired and be able to trust in me. I appreciate being given the opportunity to talk about these issues, by the way, because they're near and dear to my heart. I know that I'm not always the most eloquent, but I will say that I believe I have the best of intentions for other people, and I am intending to grow and to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can.
So we have. I'm actually just getting a DM from Glenn right now. It's there are no such thing as coincidences. It's God. We have a thing called the delusion calculator. Would you be a good sport and let me run your preferences through the delusion calculator and see how mathematically delusional you are?
As you wish.
All right, so let's start out with, do you want a man or a woman?
Are you asking what kind of partner I want?
Yes.
Woman.
Okay. And keep in mind these are standards, not preferences. So like would we all want a person who makes $250,000 a year? Of course, but like I want to know the minimum bar that you set. So like, does she want kids? Yes, no, or either?
No.
No. What would her age range need to fall in between?
I would say probably somewhere between 25 and 40.
25 and 40. And her height range?
I would say anything below 5'11".
Anything below 5'11".
Yeah, because that's how tall I am.
So you'd be okay if she was a 4-foot girl?
If she's short?
Yeah, she's four
Yeah.
foot. Okay. And what must her minimum income be?
I'd like someone who actually knows how to work. Who works hard. I would just say, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40,000.
Do you want to go 30 or 40?
40.
40. Okay.
Yeah.
And any ethnicity preference? Any ethnicity like hard
No.
lines that you set, or just any? Okay.
No.
Same with hair color. Any?
Any.
Same with eye color. Any?
Any actually would work.
And what about her minimum education?
I think I'd like to date someone who's at least got a bachelor's degree.
Okay. Religion.
Someone that's open-minded, but they can have their own religious beliefs.
Do you want to say any, or like you want to say any?
I would say someone that identifies as spiritual but not religious is probably the closest to what I would want.
Okay, so because I wish it gave like I wish it let me check off like multiples. It can only either be any, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, or atheist, but I can't check off like everything except atheist, which I kind of don't like about that because I feel the same as you. Like I'm fine with any religion except no religion, and it won't let me like check that off. So do you want to say any or Christian or
I would say any.
any? Okay.
Yeah.
Smoker, yes, no, or either?
No.
No. Drinker, yes, no, or either?
Either.
Exclude married women, or are you okay being like that guy that interrupts a marriage?
If they're divorced, it doesn't matter to me. I guess
Yeah.
I would say any or either.
All right.
Well, actually, no. I wouldn't want to date someone that's currently married.
Yeah. So exclude married women, yes. And
Yeah.
what about exclude obese women?
I would say yes. I have dated women of different height, different weights, I should say, but I'm looking for someone that could be like someone that I could go to the gym and work out with.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
Yeah.
so let's see how likely you are to find her. You actually have a 1.7% chance. That's actually not so bad. I've seen like some really low numbers. 1.7. You got 2,861,274 women in America at your disposal who fit in your parameters. So that's actually pretty good. It sounds like a super low number, but I've seen numbers in the like 0.001 range, so
Mm-hmm.
do you want it's been a while since I've done this. Do you want to see what mine are? I don't know if you really care.
I should probably mention I am expecting a phone call here in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay. All right.
We might
Then
want to wrap it up. Yeah.
all right, let's wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Rick M said, Zach's getting laid soon.
What? No. Very funny. No, it's a it's a libertarian candidate in Seattle that I'm going to be talking to. I forgot to mention I'm the political director of the Libertarian Party of Washington.
Nice. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Would you do you have any closing remarks that you want to share before we go?
Yes. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We are one tribe. There is no other. We all belong here. Together, I think we can make war and fear disappear.
All right. And I'm going to plug. Wait, I'll let this comment come in.
Rick M said, thanks, Zach, for coming on.
All right. So hold it up real quick. Hold up your book.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to put the link in the description. This is the Masters, 24, the teachings of 24 spiritual masters. And you can find it on the Amazon bookstore. I'll put the link in the description. Zach, if you would, send me a DM with the actual link, and I'll just like copy and paste it into the description. Guys, go out and get that. And yeah, you can find. I'll also put his Instagram link in there if you guys want to follow him. You could keep tabs on how he's progressing in his political and professional aspirations. And I'll announce my next scheduled episode. Shit. Well, tomorrow I'm gonna be a guest on the Glenn Gilbert show. That's gonna be at I think that's gonna be at 1:00 in the afternoon tomorrow. If you guys want to look up Glenn Gilbert, you can find me there. And then next Friday. And then next Friday is July 4th, right? Yeah. So next Friday, I'm going to have Russ on the podcast. And maybe I'll see if I can even get any other guests and stuff like that. So, yeah. You guys
said, I'm voting for Zach.
Okay. Well,
thank
you. All right. I don't vote, but I'd be happy to run your political ads on my podcast if you want,
Very kind of you. Maybe someday we can do that.
All right. So you you have a good night. You get to your campaigning and stuff. You talk to that
and the alarm go off.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna let you go, and I'm just gonna run a couple more ads, and but yeah, thank you for coming on, and we'd be happy to have you on any other time. You just say the word, and we'll bring you on. Okay. All right, he's gone. So guys, let me just run this. Let me just run this real quick. All right, guys. It's time we talk about that pressing issue. What is that pressing issue? It's lack of performance in the bedroom. It's our duty to perform at the bedroom. There's no description that does justice to the confidence boost you'll receive when you blow the back off your lover. So how are you going to do it? With a limp strand of rope? No. What do you want to be, the safe option? You want her to settle down with you after she's had her fun in the big leagues? No, you don't. Why are you going to battle in the bedroom with groggy privates? The only blue pill we endorse at the Good Faith Podcast is It's Mr. Nasty Time Blue Pills. And yes, we're talking about those pills that make you run, Forrest, run. Get the enthusiasm that Jenny has for that gang of Black Panthers and Wall Street stockbrokers, not that tepid tolerance she has for Forrest. Forget about overpriced Hims, Romans, Blue Chews. It's Mr. Nasty Time has the real deal at an amazing price that won't let you down and can't be beat. And I know what you're probably thinking. What if she cancels on me and I'm all bricked up in my trousers all night? I've tried these. They're so much more mellow than you'd expect. You can pop one over drinks. It's not going to give away your position. Or due to the quick acting effect, go to the bathroom, pop one or two in, and be fully equipped to perform. Just like all the expensive name brands, Mr. Nasty delivers his products in discreet packaging, but for a fraction of the outrageous cost that they do. Around here at the GFP, we're about leveling up, and why not level up your sex life and check out It's Mr. Nasty Time to get your mojo back. Scan the QR code on the screen or hit the link in the description and guarantee yourself unrivaled pleasure. When her dual mating strategy has her playing picky-choosy between the bad boy and the little nice guy, you know exactly who to call. It's Mr. Nasty Time. And I'm going to run one more ad, so bear with me here. Guys, we all know that it's important to take your health seriously. So how do you do it? By cutting out soda, by getting into meal prepping, by working muscles in your body that you don't usually prioritize. Targeted fat burn, cardiovascular health, prioritize that over muscle mass and gains. I used to just eat whatever I craved, and I'd try to outwork a poor diet, and it was all to no avail. There are still times when I have to force myself to eat, but I need no coercion to munch on Holler Boys. You can't just stuff a bunch of food down your big fat blowhole, you fucking orca whale. So here's the solution. Holler Boys beef jerky. They pack 10 grams of lean protein into a fantastic package, and the flavors are to die for. Peach bourbon, honey habanero, southern barbecue, Chesapeake, Fuego, or the tried and true original. My personal favorites are the peach and the habanero, but we all know that I'm a little bit sweet and zesty. What's even better about Holler Boys is they're nice and local in tax-friendly Middletown, Delaware, and are founded by a father-son duo. They just started tinkering with their backyard smoker, and through trial and failure, have come to present some of the boldest and most memorable flavors I can recall in my life. Forget Slim Jim, Jack Links, or Deets Nuts. Holler Boy snacks pack a great nutritional value in a filling serving size for an affordable price to stretch your dollar with flavor for days that'll make you holler. Their mission statement rings true to the Good Faith Podcast that life may throw you around, but you can never give up. How true. Scan the QR code on the screen and find their link in the description and tap into the best beef jerky on the market. HollerBoysJerky.com. That's holler with an A. Holler Boys Jerky, the only good jerk. All right, so guys, I want to thank you for joining me here. This was like my very first ever, like totally alone episode, and I think it came out good. Let me know in the comments after what you guys think. I just found out that you got to be watching, like, these live views. They don't count for our watch time. So please, I would be honored if you guys would watch more of a recap. If you have somebody in mind who would enjoy listening to it, send them the link because it's only the recap, the rerun hours that we get credit for that gets us monetized. So, you can never watch us too much, in my opinion. Once again, we want to humbly thank our listeners, pay them ample gratitude for their patronage. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to have such a high-quality interactive show. So thank you. Thank you, audience.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes. Yeah. What does that mean? What I just said.
I'd like to take this time to remind all of you guys that we're spreading like a virus. The Good Faith Podcast is now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, RSS.com, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcasts, Listen Notes, iHeartRadio, and Patreon. On Patreon, we're working to build additional value for the multiple tiers of donors with special content, super chat priority, and VIP in-person meetings. We do value your attention, so thank you for quieting your TikTok brain for the last 2 hours or one and a half hours or however long it's been. This is a reminder, if you feel you got any value from our show, it takes basically zero extra work to like and subscribe, and it'll move us closer to our goal of having thousands of subscribers, which will bump us up in the algorithm and expose us to more potential listeners. If you guys want to share us with more of your friends, we'd be delighted to extend our outreach. The quickest way for us to broaden our exposure.
Boy said, "Thanks, Chris. Nice show."
Thank you. Hopefully I think we're right on the precipice of an explosion. I think we're about to explode. I'm trying to get the episode from the GOAT show downloaded onto my computer, but once again I suck with technology, so I don't know. I tried downloading it on my phone. Maybe I have to download it on my computer because there's more computing power. If you're interested in joining our movement, it's hashtag #IruBiamu. Feel free to retweet the hashtag. Stay cognizant to treat people with identical worldviews to your own with dignity and respect. If somebody's opinion deviates from yours in any way, our movement advocates for treating them like shit. Remember, a civil level of respect is only earned by people who mirror your beliefs. Hashtag #IruBiamu. Our other movement is the FYB movement. Fuck yo, baby. Please spread awareness of our cause. Have you ever been minding your own business and somebody's demon spawn bothers you because their supervisor didn't keep their device's battery charged enough? Fuck that baby. Everybody knows it takes a village to raise a child, or two responsible adults who know the inherent risk of sticking an unprotected engorged cock inside an ovulating, quivering twat. The risk is childbirth. Don't get me wrong. I have a deep affinity for all my family, all of my friends' family, all the children of great stand-up parents who instill discipline into their children and raise contributing, kind members of society. To everyone whom that doesn't pertain to, fuck them. I hope while they're spiking on artificial sweeteners, Red 5 and Ritalin, they slip on a banana peel like it's Mario Kart. Hashtag fuck yo baby.
Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
If you live in the greater Philadelphia area, you want to guest star on our show, reach out to us in an Instagram DM at Christopher Bulick. The Patreon link's in the description. All proceeds are going to go towards rent, food, electricity, new computer equipment to improve our general show quality and Clark's medical expenses. I really do mean that. Clark is what's it called? He has seizures if I don't give him a pill like twice a day. What is that called? He's Clark's an epileptic. But luckily, because I've been giving him pills for a long time, he has not had a seizure in a very long time. To all of our faithful audience, we wish you a wonderful weekend, a happy and healthy lifestyle, and to all of you, we bid you goodbye.
No.